One of the most persistent myths about writing is that productivity comes from inspiration. You wake up feeling ready, clear-headed, motivated, and then the writing happens. But if that were true, very few people would ever finish anything because inspiration is unreliable. However, systems are not. I'm Nick. This is Dr. Cranky Pants Teaches, and today we're talking about why sustainable writing has almost nothing to do with how you feel and everything to do with how easy it is to start again. Productive writers are not more inspired. They are better at reducing startup cost. Startup cost is the effort it takes to re-enter the work. The higher the startup cost, the more likely you are to avoid writing. The lower the startup cost, the more likely you are to begin, even when you don't feel like it. This is why writing collapses so easily. Not because people don't care, not because they lack discipline, but because their system makes starting expensive. This is why people talk about daily writing. Not because daily writing is virtuous, not because consistency is a moral achievement, but because frequent engagement keeps the work cognitively warm. When you write regularly, your brain doesn't have to reconstruct the entire project every time you sit down. Contrast that with binge writing. You write intensely for several days. You stop. You don't touch the project for weeks. And when you come back, you have to remember everything that you were arguing, why you made certain choices, what still needs to be done, and where everything lives. That re-entry cost in terms of energy and brain space is enormous. So you avoid it. Not because you're lazy, but because your system makes starting painful. And this is where rest enters the convo. Rest is not a failure of discipline. Rest is a part of cognitive labor. Your brain continues processing even when you're not actively writing. Connections form, problems untangle, ideas clarify. But rest only works when the work remains legible. If you walk away from a project with no clear sense of where to begin next, rest turns into distance. So the goal is not just to stop writing. The goal is to stop writing well. Here is the single most important habit for sustainable writing. Never end a session without making tomorrow easier. And this is where I see a lot of beginning academic writers go wrong. They write until time runs out, then they close the document and they walk away. And tomorrow they have to figure out everything all over again. It's like Groundhog's Day. Instead, end every session by leaving yourself some breadcrumbs, an end of session note. Now, this is not a to-do list. It's not a vague reminder. It's a short, concrete message from present you to future you. Before you stop, write 3 things. First off, where are you in the argument? Secondly, what the next specific task is. And thirdly, what decision you want to make next. For example, I just finished drafting the paragraph comparing Smith and Lee. Next, I need to decide whether their disagreement belongs in this section or in the next one. When I come back, start by rereading the last paragraph and outlining that comparison. That's it. Now, tomorrow, you're not starting from nothing. You're restarting with direction. And this is how you reduce startup cost. Now, let's talk about low motivation days, because if I'm honest, that's most days. And this is where the 2-minute reset comes in. When you sit down, do not ask, do I feel like writing? Instead, ask, can I do 2 minutes of the next task? 2 minutes. Open the document, read the end of session note, reread the last paragraph. That's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. Now, you're allowed to stop after that. But most of the time, chances are you won't. But even if you do, you've kept the project alive. You've maintained continuity. And continuity is what makes deeper work possible later. This is what people mean when they say writing is a habit. It's not a mood, it's not a schedule, it's not inspiration. It's a system. It's a system that assumes you will be tired, you will be distracted, you will not feel ready, and builds anyway. If this made writing feel a little less fragile, that matters. Writing doesn't collapse because you lack motivation. It collapses when re-entry costs too much. In the next video, we're going to take this idea of startup cost and make it very concrete, because knowing why writing collapses is not the same thing as knowing how to design a system that holds. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one.